Hello, everyone. I am in beautiful Sedona right now, and I hope you can see that. I've decided I'd leave the office and just enjoy a little bit of a trip out. So I've climbed these mountains about 45 minutes ago, and here I am. I'm right here, ready to do my next, 8-minute Bible thoughts, which, by the way, those go way longer than my 8-minute Bible thoughts. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be talking today, and we're going to continue on with the 8-minute Bible thoughts now. So we are going to be going on and talking more about this whole thought about what the church is and what the church isn't. And for those of you who are tuning in right now, that you guys are joining us from our Facebook page. How's it going? Brought my V8 up here, and like I said, in Sedona and ready to talk Bible with you. Okay, so here's the deal. I was wanting to kind of pick up where we have left off. In one of the previous videos, we were talking about the fact that the church is both universal and it's local. And in the New Testament, when Paul is writing to the church, he's writing to local churches describing what the church is. So today, let's talk a little bit more and dig a little bit more about what the local church is. I mean, because when you think about this, right, when you think about what the local church is, the local church in our mind is typically, we think of a building. We are located right here on the intersection of 19th Avenue and Dunlap in Phoenix. And if you'd like to come, service is open. We're at 1 right now. Hopefully in phase 2, we'll get back into 2. So we think of the location, right? We are located in a certain place. We think of the buildings, We talk about our church, typically what comes about is we talk about the kind of buildings that we have. They're built in the 70s, and the one over behind me, I'm in Sedona, I forgot. No, when I'm back in home, right behind me. So in the 1980s. And so we talk about the building as it is. And so a lot of the time, we kind of think about church on a level of it is the place, it's where I gather, it's the facilities, it's the memories, it's the orange carpet that we used to have in the 70s. It's the brown carpet that we have now. It's the lights. It's the fellowship hall. It's all that comes with that. But really, what should we focus on? And so that's what I want to focus on for just a few minutes as we open up our text. So I have all my gear out here, and here's what I want you to see. This comes from Ephesians 5. Look at verse 25, right? Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her to make her holy, cleansing her with the washing of water and of the word. Okay? Let me just think about this. Now, typically, this is used, and this is a passage, a great passage, by the way, in talking about how husband and wife relationship should work. But I want you to think about what the implication is right here that Paul's speaking of, right? Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. Christ did not give himself for a building. He didn't give himself for a church or a style. He didn't give himself for just a tradition. No, he gave himself for a people. And so that is, when you begin to really think about that the church is the people who gather. The church is a group of people who God has placed in this area to gather. Remember, as the church is writing, these are a local group of people in a local context. And as Paul writes them, as the apostles write them, they are a people who have gathered together. They're hearing things that they need to hear. But it's also for everybody else to hear as well. But the church is a place where the people gather. Now, let's not also forget, by the way, and I'm going to head over here in my Bible app and line it up for us, but what is it that we are told about when it comes to being the family of God, right? We are not only a people who gather, but we are a people who are a family. I love what is said here. I'm going to go over here in my Bible app for you, and it says, and his brother, this is Mark 3, his mother and brothers came standing outside, and they sent word to him, and they called to him. A crowd was sitting around him and told him, "Look, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are outside asking for you." And he replied, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And looking to those sitting in a circle around him, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is my brother, sister, and mother." So what I want us to think about, and just for a few minutes, is, and right here, but throughout the day, is if the church is a family, if it's a group of people that have gathered, so how should that affect how I think about decisions? How should that affect how I think about whether things are not the same? I mean, if a family is a family, think about how much your family has changed as it started, right? So it might have started, if you're married, as just you two, right? And then over time, you've added children in. And how much have you changed since you've had kids? What does your house look like now? I got to tell you, you look at my house now. Now my wife will be like, "You make it sound like our house is dirty," but it's not. It's not dirty. But we've got toys everywhere. One kid's bringing in the Toy Story toys, and he throws that all in the living room at one go. The other kid is a baby. He doesn't know. He just throws and opens and doesn't put anything back. Actually, I don't think any of them kind of like to put anything back. But that's the house. When we started, we didn't have any Toy Story. We didn't have any to begin with. But as family changes and adds, we have new eras in our life too. And as things take place, I'm going to respond differently now because this is the way my family is than I would have when I first started. And so I think sometimes we need to think about, like, if a church is a body, if a church is a people, if it's a family, then maybe the way that I should respond should be differently. And if God is wanting to continue to add people into our family, if we're going to be seeing people saved from this generation and into the next, what do you think that means for how our family is going to look, how our family should run, and how it should feel? The rules stay the same in the sense of what our focus is and what binds us as a family, right? The rules are the way that Jesus is for. We've been saved out of darkness, brought into light. Our focus is on the gospel, and that's what binds us together as sinners saved by the grace of Jesus. But what should change, based on each generation, God adding new family members to us? How should that change how we maybe even do business meetings? Should we be so structured about these are the things, or should we begin to say, okay, if this is an idea that's brought up, let's think about it we would maybe a family member. And let's begin to think about it in terms of that. Or if somebody has wronged you in the church, maybe you should think about it in terms of let's think about it in terms of family first, right? How do we deal with it as a family? And if you might have a bad family background, maybe you don't want to do like that, but biblically, how do we do it? If there's styles and preferences that don't necessarily suit you, if you're in a family, recognize we're all sharing, right? We're all trying to do this together. And so I think that concept of the church being a people, the church being a family, should begin to think of a lot of different ways of what that should mean for us. Even though we gather back in Phoenix, I don't even know where I'm at. I climbed this up blindfolded, barefoot. And even though we're a family located here at 19th Avenue in Dunlap, we're a family that's scattered all over, and when we're brought together and what God wants to do through us is going to take new people and change us and make us look more like Him. And we're not all going to look the same. We're not all going to be different. How many of you guys, by the way, I know every time I say these are 8-minute Bible clips, they're always 8 plus. Give a few, right? But last thing I want to think about is how many of the people are in your own family are just like you? You might think, I remember I used to think before I had kids, I'd watch these families with these kids that wouldn't eat, I eat everything, right? And these kids wouldn't eat, they only eat mac and cheese. And I'd be like, you know what? When I have kids, my kids are going to eat everything. I'm going to make them eat everything. Enjoy a nice V8 today. go out and get you one. Actually, I've heard great things about Salad and Go. You should go. Um, eh, Good iced coffees and salads. We should try that sometime, but not sponsored by V8, but they're okay. Signing off. Talk to you guys later. Look for our last Wednesday video coming today as well, and we're going to keep focusing on these. Talk to you guys.